Puzzle solving is extremely important in chess because it builds your pattern recognition and allows you to spend 2 seconds in a position and just go chop, 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 boom, I'm up material, rather than spending many minutes trying to work everything out. You absolutely should do puzzles. And in this video, I'm going to try to get to 50 Puzzle Rush Survival and just talk you through my thought process to help you get to that score. I'm just going to talk out my thought process and you'll see how it works. And my personal goal for you is going to be to solve 5 numbers higher, or 5 puzzles more than you already solved now. So, this is what we're going to be looking at in every position. We're going to start off with checks, captures, and attacks. I can take this queen, but that is not the most forcing move in the position. Most forcing move is a check, a check, a check, a check, these checks. This knight check hits the king and the queen, which makes me think that it's just this, and that's not a mate, because the queen actually guards. Be very careful, and I think we're just going to be taking the queen here for this first one. Now again, checks, captures, and attacks. Right now, white seems to be up a pawn. That's the only check we have. It also happens to be a mate, because after takes, the king has no escape from the back rank. And this is the thought process I want all the beginners watching to kind of apply. This one is going to be a check. Of course, taking the rook is good. The king can only go here. Notice that the king cannot actually go up because of the bishop. So the king would go there. And then we have a rook check in the corner. This is a very famous checkmate. You use your rook and your bishop to kind of glue the king to the corner of the board there, and that's a mate. And again, you can feel free to pause when I, go to each puzzle if you want to solve it on your own. Endgame puzzles, we have no checks. So we've got pawns, and I mean, we have pawns in a dream. So this one's pretty simple. Just push your pawn, and then push it again, and then push it again, and then push it again, and then make a queen. Don't make any other piece. Make a queen. All right. That's an attack. So we said, do we have any checks? No, I mean, rook takes rook is not a check. What about with our queen? What about that? That's a check. Say, well, that's a bad move because rook takes. Really? That's one thing I'm going to be challenging all of you throughout this video. Really? Wait a minute. Do we have any captures in that position after takes? Look around. Oh. This is called X-ray defense. This is when a piece is protected by one of our pieces through the enemy piece. So this is actually queen takes rook. That's why you always need to start looking for the checks first, because in a lot of the earlier puzzles, they happen to be the right answer. Actually, here is another great example. The knight comes here. I can't take it. I could take that. It's probably all right, but do I have any checks? I have pawn here, but so what? They just... Oh. Now we look around, we go, do we have any checks? Okay, king's over there. Can anybody get there? Always look at the queen. The queen can come in here. Now, queen takes knight's obviously not right. But if we just get up in the king's face with queen to c2, it's actually protected. Which is one thing that's hard to see as a beginner. The interaction of pieces. Queen c2 is a mate. None of those pieces controls the c2 square. That just happens to be a checkmate. Again, here's another good example. We only have one check in this position, and it's bishop to g6. The king actually cannot go to either of those two squares. So this is the only square. Check here. And do we have another check as a follow-up? The follow-up move. We have a queen. It's called a battery with queen and bishop. So the bishop is actually escorted to this square. And that happens to be right. It's the second move that's the killer in a lot of these early puzzles. So this one is interesting. If we take a look, I want to push and make a queen, but they just take me. I only have one check, and it's this. I'm going to give the check, right? The king cannot take this pawn because it's protected, but the king could go here. But then we don't need to look for a follow-up check with our knight to attack the king. Our biggest asset in the endgame is our passed pawn, as we saw a couple of exercises ago. So check here, push pawn is the right answer. We kick the king away from the defense of that square, and that's the right answer. Okay, here... very easy. We don't have a single check. We have no checks. So when we start looking around, captures. Can we take anything? Only that. That would be a disaster. So now we've entered the third hierarchy of forcing moves, which is attacking moves. Moves that create threats. And you need to start with what's worth the most after a king, because a king is already a check, right? So a queen. Do we have any move in this position that attacks the queen? Yes, we do. We have one. Knight here. What does that do? That attacks the rook and the queen, right? So it attacks both. It's a fork. But at that point, you need to go, what are they going to do? Because it's not such a forcing move. You actually don't know. Like, do they have a check? Yeah, this. But then you just take, and they haven't dealt with the fork. Can they take anything? Yeah, I guess they could go here, but that's guarded. The knight goes there. Also, visualize, when the knight moves there, who opens? The rooks. The rooks actually see each other. So if knight here, and the queen were to move, we would take the rook. If knight here and the rook took us, we would not take the rook. We would take the queen, which I actually think is going to be the right answer, right? Don't just take back. Don't snap take back. Take the queen in the corner. And then when the rook takes you, you would take. All right, this is a one-move capture. Easy. Get it. 3, 2, 1. If you said this or this or this, you need a virtual smack. Bah! No. Queen. Free piece. Hello. Easy. And now, a famous tactical pattern. This one, you actually take with the knight. You take with the knight because if they take you, you take their rook. It's a very famous pattern like this. Don't take... Sometimes you take the pawn, but more often than not, you take the rook. Okay, rook takes b2. King takes. Nothing. Knight check. Taken. Knight check. Well, that attacks that and that. That doesn't look that bad. They move the king, I take the bishop. Do they have any checks? No. Can they take... No. We start at this point to add that layer of what can they do. Okay. So, do I have a check? Yes, as a matter of fact, I do have a check. Queen e4 is a check. I know their move. It's going to be king here. And actually, in that position, with my queen on this square, I control that getaway, and I control those squares. So, my queen covers every square when the king is over here. I wonder if I can... Oh, a different color. Look at that. Or can I get blue? Nice. So, check there. Bishop. The hardest thing to visualize about this one is that the square is free. That when your queen moves, the bishop can actually come in. But we always need to look for that follow-up check. Okay, no checks here. Do we have any captures? I could take the bishop or I could take the knight. If I take the bishop, they just take me back. Then I could take this. Okay, so that's knight and bishop for rook. Okay, that was one idea. Let's keep looking. Don't just play it. If I take... Whoop. If I take... They take me, I take that rook for free. If I take, and then they take me, then I take, that looks pretty good. But then, what if I take with the rook? If I take with the rook, they take, it doesn't matter that I take the rook, because they take my bishop. So it's probably bishop takes knight. If they take, I take the rook. And if they take this way, the sequence of moves results in this pin. Try to realize the pinning situation. And the fact that the bishop cannot move. So it's going to be bishop takes knight. If they didn't take me, I would have taken their bishop. So takes, and now you have to win that endgame. Okay. Check and check. Take. Okay, no, that's terrible. All right. Well, I don't have a capture. I mean, that's not going to work. So I got to create a threat here, I think. I got to create a threat. What if we play rook up 1? Defended by this rook, and target the g2 pawn. I mean, if this pawn wasn't here, the queen would be defending. Unfortunately, you can't take your own pawns. So I think rook f2 rook f2 g3 probably, and then I can't take. But can I sneak in there with my queen? Probably. So I think it's rook f2, and that's just the end of it. Okay, rook is coming here. Now I can see I can take that, but then you gotta say, what are they gonna do? You don't just go pawn takes knight. Whoopee! No, you didn't follow the system. Knight f6 check. Knight f6 check is the way to go here. Because when they take, you take their queen. But they still have rook and knight lined up, so let's take a look. Knight f6, here. Take the queen. They could go double check with the knight and the rook, but we slide over. Looks good. Check. This is called a discovered attack. And now we slide our king out of the way, and I think we're safe. Nice. Okay. So here we have a check, but it's very hard to see. And this is where people start getting tripped up. There is a check here. It's with the queen, but you don't move the queen. You gotta look long range. The knight isn't gonna do it, but you've only got 3 pieces, and really only 2 of them are playing. The rook is totally out of the game. So a lot of you would just play queen takes bishop, but you're still down a rook. At the end of all puzzles, for the most part, you're gonna be up a piece or mating. It's c4. Discover check. And when the king goes to the corner, you jump in here. So now you take the knight. And now don't take the rook. Of course, take the queen. Okay. Again, don't just take, because you can. Checks. That's bad. Queen checks. Okay. Or there. Or there. But anything on the back rank, the king actually cannot move to these two squares. So is it mate? No. Because the king doesn't have to move when it's in check. The rook can come back. Now, some people here would go check, and I win the knight. And that looks good. That's a free knight. But sometimes there's something better. So that's your first idea. Wait a minute. We're missing a check. These two pieces work together. These two pieces work together. Give it one more look. Check. Defended by the rook. And back rank mate. You see? Now, the way you can avoid blunders like this is at the end of the puzzle, you should say, am I up 2 pawns at least of material? In this final position, you're going to have a knight, but 3 pawns versus 5. So you're not going to be up that much. So it's not queen b1, it's queen f2 check, and queen f1. Okay, so this one. Now we're down a knight, but I think we just go rook c1. And the king can't escape. So yeah, it's rook c1. We will take the queen. And now you just have to take the free knight. Don't take this. Take the free knight. Okay. That's a check. Actually, that's just game over. Queen h3 and we take. And we're guarded and it's mate. So it's mate in 2 on puzzle number 20. All right, those of you struggling to get to 20. It's not so hard. I mean, I know it might feel that way, but all right. Check. They take. Check. King runs. I mean, we could take the rook, and you go, oh, I want a rook. Wait a minute. At the end of that puzzle, you're down a rook. At the end of that puzzle, take inventory. You're down a rook. Dude, what are you doing? So, look. This one, you know, it's a queen and knight combo. This is one of the only checks that you look like you have, but knight check is even better. Why? Because you can't go to those 3 squares. So you go check, and then you bring in your queen. It's a nice queen and knight pattern. Every square is covered by my pieces, and it's not there. That allows the king to run. King run might look cool, but trust me, checkmate is cooler. Okay, so here I have a check if I take the rook, and then if the queen takes, I guess I take the bishop? Is it that easy, or do I have something better? Take the rook. I mean, if they don't take me, I just get out. I think it's just this. I mean, it must just be knight takes rook. Okay, easy. My queen's hanging, but we also can give a check. In fact, if we give a check, they cannot go to the corner because of our knight. They will take our bishop because they cannot take our knight because of our rook. Board is big. Make sure you realize how all your pieces coordinate. So it's going to be check, and then our queen is going to use this move to get out of danger. Then it's going to be mate. This is doable. Y'all, all of y'all can do this. Okay, this is probably check. Some sort of other check. Yeah, this is almost always like both your rooks get involved. And now you need the king on the D file because you need to X-ray. You're either mating or you need to X-ray. And you're going to do this by giving this check. Don't ever repeat moves. Do not ever repeat moves. That means the puzzle is wrong. If you play rook to E1 and rook to D1, you're going to win the piece. Okay, checks, captures, attacks. All right. We don't have a check. We have 1 capture. Excuse me, we have 2 captures. Do we have any attacks? Yes, bishop E4. They just block. Okay, bishop G5 attacks the queen, guarded by the knight. That actually looks pretty good if F6. Don't take it with the bishop. That's the trick here. Bishop G5, F6, pawn F6. If bishop takes, the bishop stops guarding the knight. And you take the knight. Bishop G5, queen's trapped, so F6, pawn takes. That's the right move. Because if you take with the bishop, this is bad. But if you take with the pawn, now you get the knight. What is going... How did all my pieces end up over there? Okay, I mean... What is even the material? I'm down a a bishop. I'm down a bishop. And a pawn. But this looks like mate very soon. So I play queen b7. King d6. Huh, what is this? Rook b7, king d6? I think I gotta get my queen out. My instinct tells me I need to get my queen out. It just feels wrong to keep it in the corner. So queen b7 here, that's mate. So that means that the way we do this is we use something called our reciprocal kind of thinking. We go, okay, well, if queen b7, if this, then this. Okay, that works. If queen b7 this, do we take the rook? No, because this. That doesn't mean queen b7 is wrong. That means that queen d7 is wrong. So queen b7, king d6, we keep thinking. Do we have any other checks? Rook takes pawn, bishop takes. No. So queen b7, king d6. Oh! We have another check on b4. And that would lead to a mate. So it's kind of using this auxiliary idea concept, right? So right now, you know, there's this thing going on. I want to go check, but then rook takes. I want to go queen f6. Are there any checks from my opponent? Now here's the question. What's the difference between queen h6 and queen f6? I actually don't know off the top of my head. Queen f6, my threat is queen g7 and queen h8. The only way to stop that is to go here. And then I guess I could play, well, bishop b4, they just go back. The threat of this is both of those things. If g6, I can take with check. If here, maybe bishop b4. Oh, this is very difficult. Here, check. I don't think I'm supposed to allow the king out. That's what my instinct is telling me. It's telling me this. And it was telling me correctly. Now just take the free rook. And just get out of check. Okay, they took en passant. So of course I can take back. But what if I just take the knight? Isn't that just a free knight? Isn't that just the second free knight? Like this? Just take a second one. The hardest thing about this position is to not lose your queen. It's also not to take the pawn because the knight is going to move. Give a check. It's never too late to mess up. Check. And now you take the knight. The pawn's not promoting because of your rook. You take the knight. And they still promote and you take it. Okay, this is a king and pawn endgame. Calculating these is actually, it's not the hardest thing in the world. Essentially here you either go king b3 or a4. So let's think about this. King b3, king b5, a4 looks winning. a4 right away also doesn't look bad. So a4 king here, then king b3. No, but that just looks winning. a4, king b6, king b3, and of course we're going this way. King c5, king a3, king c4, king b2. So why is this not winning? King c5, king a3. Oh, that's why. It's because the king is not going to go to b5 if we go to b3. The king is going to come around this way. Oh, that's very tricky. So you have to play a4, I think. Then you wait. You wait for the king to go one square this way. Now you do this. And now they're a square behind us. They have the same situation, but we've gotten to move our pawn up one. And now here you have to play king b2, which shoulders the king away. And now you play a3 and you promote. Okay. Check, check. Sorry, this is not check. 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 And that's it. Captures. This. Rook f6. Nope, rook f6. Okay. I mean, what if I take queen d5 and I pin the rook to the king? Doesn't look so bad. Here, rook e8. Here, king f7. Rook e3. And I just double up. That looks pretty convincing. Because the queen can't guard the bishop. So this one is about this kind of diagonal here. If I pin this way, then bishop takes his check. I actually have to force my opponent into this advantageous pin. Oh my god, they just gave me the rook for free. Okay. What? Okay, I mean, obviously I gotta stop. What? Okay, I mean, I should probably guard my pawn, right? Okay, I shouldn't take, because we don't want to draw. And now I think I give a check, and then I just... What was this puzzle? Check? So now the king can't take my pawn? What? This is the weirdest puzzle ever. Alright, this one's a combo. We have only one check in this position, and that check is bishop f2. That's obviously wrong, because take, that's 6-6. But if we take the bishop, they take, and then we go bishop d4. That's easy. It's a very common pattern. It's just a fork using this mindset. I'm going to start speeding up a little bit. If you want to stay with me, feel free to pause whenever I get a new puzzle. I think this one is just taking and then bringing the king back. But I have... Wait. If this, bring the king back, b5. Take, king e6, b6, king d7, and I think I'm stopping the pawn. So I have to stop this. Now, don't take. Also, don't push. You have to take this. And then we take this. We get back. Stop the pawn. What is with all these random promotions? I'm not in check. I can give a check. I can also give the f1 check. So I can give this check as well. Check here, and then you're walking into this, no? So it's probably check here, double check. Double check is always nice. And by the way, why can't I just check king g1? It's got to be this. Now where's my win? Double check, king here, check here, check here. I can take. At some point I can take. Maybe I could take here. Okay, they just hung mate. Terrific. I love mates. I want to take. But this... Okay, so takes, right? That's kind of easy. Queen takes. Bishop takes. Take the queen. And it's not knight takes because I pin myself. So notice it's not this. It looks like it's this. This is where we get puzzles wrong. We don't realize that just because we took a bishop doesn't mean we're winning. They have a way to, you know, punish us. So I think it's queen d3. Yeah, and now you don't take. It's all about thinking what they're going to do. And you might think, well, how's this useful? Let's just take. How's this useful? Because that's how chess works. Some people don't realize puzzles aren't just like finite, you know, solutions that will never happen. They're totally going to happen. Look, I want to take the bishop, but my queen's hanging. So what do? Check, and then I take the bishop. And now, important, what do? If you move your queen, you lose your rook. You take the rook. Because you're going to get a rook, they take, and you're going to get their queen. So it's this. I think it's this. Okay, this is the only check we have. Looks pretty stupid. But we also have rook d7. And I can take this, but that hangs not just the queen, it also hangs mate. Now, I am tempted to believe it's rook d7. I think it's rook to d7 because that is one of my more forcing moves. It attacks the bishop and it threatens bishop takes pawn. I'm not actually sure how that gets stopped. I also have bishop f7 right away and rook d7, but I think it's rook d7. Nice. If I take, they have check, but at the end I'm also threatening their rook, so I think this is fine with me. 37. If I take, I lose my queen. Okay, what if I play queen takes pawn and I line up a little something here? I guess they have queen back to g3 to protect? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. So then how am I going to win this if they have queen back to g3? Am I going to triple? Oh. Oh, am I going to play queen takes, queen g3, and rook e2? So I didn't refute my idea. I just saw a defense that I didn't see, but I added a layer. I think it's that. I think it's this. And now I need to focus. I go rook to e2. Now the good thing for me is there is never back rank mate because I have king h7 at all times. If my pawn was here, I wouldn't have this. So good lesson for all of you as well. What is going on in this position? This king has no moves. Check. No. Check. Almost. What the heck? Getting a headache just looking at this. Also, there's like a hanging rook. Man, I think it's bishop takes knight. If knight takes, I think I have rook g3 check. See, like, this looks like mate, but pawn takes. But if my queen could get there... Wait, but if bishop here, knight here is a check, and I can't... Oh, no, then my rook takes. I can't take with the pawn because queen, pawn, king. See this? Also, this is a threat. I think it's bishop d2. Yeah, and there you go. Now I think I take with my rook. The queen can take my queen. Notice a lot of this is how the board is opening up. That's all. That's how I'm thinking about this. It's how the board is opening up. There's lines everywhere. Crisscross applesauce. I'm going to take with the rook, and now I'm going to take like this. What I predicted would happen. All right, that's a check. The knight would block. Okay, cool story. Wait, but this knight covers 2 back rank squares. What if I give a check? Is this just mate? Check. The knight has to take, and that's mate. Check. Oops. Check. Take. Mate. This is called deflection. Like, take, mate would work. But the reason why that's wrong is that they don't have to take me back. See, a lot of people will go, take, mate. Wait, that's not forced. For example, rook here, they could go here, I guess. They could theoretically do that, but then what if I take, king is here, and I attack them with my bishop, and my queen slides in. Ah, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be this, and then maybe the queen blocks. 40! Not bad. This looks like a mate of some sort. Check, here, mate. But what about check, here? That looks harder. I don't want to play bishop b5 like taking away the escape because they're going to check me. Every move needs to be checked. So check, here. Maybe bring it back, but that doesn't look very convincing. Check, king d7, queen d5, king c7. What about bishop b5, king d7, and bishop a6 and bishop b5, king e7, and queen b4. 4, king b... That's it. I got it. I had to go from the other direction. The hardest part about these puzzles where it's like this weird, king hunt, it's geometry. So if I give this check and the rook blocks, it's not about taking. It's about mate. It's that the king's escape square has been stopped. This blocks the escape square, so we go queen a8. And if king b8, we have queen b4. That is the key. Bishop g4. We have to take with the bishop, not the queen. And then we have this very important queen b4. And now the bishop on the diagonal. It's a very nice geometric sequence there. We get the right answer. All right. Check. I mean, the first thing that I'm thinking is just go back, right? Why not? I mean, you threaten mate. That must be right. Part of me also thinks it's some sort of weird king walk. Like, here. Like, for example, if I go rook d2 and the queen just goes back, do I have a mate? Am I actually, like, mating there? Because it's not mate. The queen is covered. So, maybe it's just a king b3. The only checks that they have is this and this. They go here. I go to a4. They can check me on G or here, and I'll just block with my pawn. I think that's it. I can just very confidently run my king to the shielding of my own pawns. Yeah. And then it was going to be checkmate. That's targeted with 2 pieces. If I take once, they want this? Is that the idea? Okay, well, what if I just... What if I just take the other way? Take. I don't understand. Rook takes? I get it. Okay. I think it's this. Yeah, and now we're going to see the point. what do you take back with here? 9 times out of 10, you want to take back with the rook, but then they have check. So again, always looking at their forcing moves as well. Here your queen is the defense that you need because you cover the e8 square with the second piece. Okay. Can I... What? They queen and I queen with check, right? That... I don't see anything else. I mean, otherwise they just... I mean, if I go here, they go rook g4. That doesn't look very convincing. I think I have to go a7, queen, and now I have to find... I gotta find it here. Gotta find the win. I don't know where it is. The only check that I see is rook h3. Don't think it's a queen move. I don't have a check. Rook here. What if, like... The king moves, I guess I take the rook. And if the king goes to the g file, do I just give like a... Oh, so check. And now rather than taking the rook, I go check. The queen is... Like, the king is stuck to the queen. Look at that. It's a lot of layers to these puzzles as you go up. Check. Here, and some sort of deflection. Wow. That's very nice. And now rook f3. It's called a deflection. Rook f3, and then I take the queen. Wow. Okay. Queen d1. Check. Take. Check. Rook blocks. Knight f7. King h5. I take. That was easy. Those were only moves. All of those moves. So I take here. I also have knight f5, which actually doesn't look so bad. But rook g6, hg, check. And then knight f7. So it's this. And now the hardest thing here is you don't need to move your queen. That's the hardest thing to visualize, is that you see your queen's hanging, so you want to go check. No, you add that extra attacker, and you cannot be taken because of the pin that deflects the king away. Take and mate. 45. Smooth sailing thus far. Okay, my queen is hanging. I could take, and there's this. Whoa, what about this move? And then I laser beam the knights. Oh my god. Queen e8's the only other move. I mean, take doesn't work because when I attack the rook with my queen, this is not attacked. I think it's just queen e8. That is incredible. And now I don't think I take, because that leaves this knight hanging. I think I just go here. Yep. Okay, now you don't take with the bishop. You just took with the bishop, but you don't take with the bishop. Why? Why don't you do this? Because this. You take with the knight. And they cannot take your bishop because... That's how you gotta think. It's constantly thinking about what they want. Oh, I hate these. Oh, I hate these so much. Avoiding perpetual check puzzles are just my kryptonite. I hate these puzzles. Question is, where do I move my king? I mean, dude, I can also block, but that looks idiotic. Can I go up? If I go up, this is their only move. What if I go up again? They can check me. Can I come back with my queen? Wait, what if I just keep going up? What if I just go up? Why did I abandon going up? Up, up, up. They can't check me here because of my own queen. Oh my gosh. Is it just this, and there's no more checks? That is incredible. And by the way, that is not a check. It looks like it's a check, but my pawn, my very important pawn. Oh my gosh, king h5. Oh my gosh. Oh. I missed this move. King h6, there's this. Oh, that's interesting. So, king h5, queen f3, this would be wrong. But maybe now I have to? Do I have to do this? Here? Or... I don't think I have anything else. Right? Oh! Oh my goodness! King h6, here, queen h5! I go all the way up and then my queen... Oh, that's... I mean, that is just ridiculous. Oh, my... Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. The layers on these puzzles are just unbelievable. So this one's you know, I either take with the rook or the queen kind of a situation. My problem is that this queen patrols the whole diagonal. So if this is mate, but this here, it's queen takes, king here, and it's not this because then rook block. It's this because then if rook block, you still see the rook. Rook b6 also looks very good, but it's check. If this, then mate. If this is called the boomerang technique. Not this, but this. It serves the same purpose, but when the rook blocks, you take the rook. It's queen a5 and queen d8. Okay. Check here. No. Check. No. But this is coming, so I gotta do something quick. Bishop b6. Rook g7, king f8. Is that actually bishop to b6? And I just brave the storm? I mean, if it's bishop b6, I don't understand anything about chess. Bishop to b6, rook takes. If this, that's mate. So if bishop b6, rook here, king f8, and then here, what do I do? Check, right? And then I mate them. And if they check me, take... Oh, yeah, I think it's bishop b6. Crazy. Sometimes in these harder ones, you... Oh! What is that? I didn't see that. If I take the queen, it's mate? Do I just keep running? Do I just keep running? This is insane. You never repeat. Remember, you never repeat moves. So if there's a repetition, you never repeat. Is it really king e8? And then I put like my bishop here. Or I play rook c3 and then bishop d4. Is it rook c3? What is the answer? Is it bishop d4 or rook c3? I think it's rook takes this, which is my more forcing move. And then you pin the wow. Nuts. Rook c3. And then again, if check, then king d7. No more checks. They could take my rook, but I'll be taking their queen. So I think it's this. I was wrong. I'm curious why I was wrong. That looked right. I guess bishop d4 was the right answer, but I'll never know. Rook c3 looked right. Trying to think what I missed, but we'll look at it after. Queen e5 or queen c6 is the first thing that I'm thinking. Queen e5. My rook is hanging, so I'm going to have to move it at some point. This is also juicy. Rook d7, knight f6. So this. What a weird position. What? I mean, that looks good, but then I don't like that the queen could block. I don't want the queen to get involved. King e7. Queen c7. So rook d7, there's queen e5. King goes to d8, queen b8, king e7. Bleh. Here. I apologize. Here. Check. Rook d7, queen here, check. Maybe rook b6? Might be rook b6. Maybe rook b6. So here, check. If king goes back, some sort of... But what about king up? Then rook b6 anyway. Yeah, I think it's this. All that calculating and then that happens. All right. Blah. That's a free knight. I mean, I have a check. I have another check. They're stupid. That's just a free knight. No questions asked. Rook b8. Rook b8. That looks a little bit inconvenient. Okay. Rook b8, queen a6, rook b2. I don't think I have anything there. Okay, so that means, so then we gotta start looking at like d5 and opening up the rook. I mean, that is the only other thing that makes any sort of sense, but rook b8 is still a thing. Even with that. Now, I don't actually think it's a queen move. I don't think it's a queen move. Like, what am I gonna do? Play queen a6 voluntarily? What kind of sorcery is that? So then, is it take rook b8 and then d5? If they take my queen, I go bishop f6. Take. It's hard. d5, rook b8. Maybe take? Take, something like this? That's just a free knight. Like, I can't shake the fact that that's just a free piece. I just decided to take. And now I'm thinking it's got to be d5 because this just looks too, I don't know. I just don't know. Like I think it's got to be this. They take my queen, bishop b6, king here. I take. The d5, rook b7. Here. It's got to be right. It's got to be d5. Yup. And now check, and my queen's hanging. On bishop to c3. Wait. Oh, it's check. It's check. I have to take. And now we take the knight. Wow. We got to 50. We got to 50. We did it. You know, I did say I was going to end it here, but my record is 64. It's going to take a long time to go to 64, so I think this is a good stopping point. Kind of shows you all how to get to 50. I'm sure many of you would be very happy to get this score, and that was kind of the purpose of the video. Before we end, I, of course, do need to check what was the right answer here. Let's analyze this position. I think it might be a little bit... No, it's a little bit poorly cropped, but... So what exactly was wrong? So bishop d4 was good. Rook c3... Oh, wow. Queen d5. Oh, I just assumed they had to take. Oh, see, I keep telling you all to stop assuming they have to take. But I assume they have to take. They don't have to take. Although, the computer's still trying to find some absurd way to, like, get an advantage here. Wait, what? No, I think bishop d4, king c2. No, I mean, the computer's trying to argue this endgame is better for black, which is maybe not completely inaccurate, but of course I had a much cleaner win if I just played bishop d4. What I missed here is that in this position I can just take and take. I completely forgot about that. So that makes sense. But if in the future you guys want me to make a video on puzzle solving and me getting my own peek, I'll be happy to do it, but I'll need to edit it because some of those puzzles take 15 minutes. I can't have a video of me, you know, thinking for 15 minutes. But puzzles are super important. Like, make no mistake about it. You know, a lot of these things, you watch a streamer, me, Hikaru, anybody, and you're like, wow, how do they see that? They must be so smart. I hope you don't think that, because I'm a moron. I've just played a lot of chess, and I've done a lot of puzzles. In terms of puzzle solving, take as much time as you need. Don't use it, don't do puzzles like you're at a casino. Try to get like 10 or 15 right every day, and that's it. Try to get 100% right, 10 out of 10, 15 out of 15, or something like that. And you should be well on your way to turning puzzles into rating points.